thing as a side gig, and then she just took control. And it's funny, in the publishing business, we all like to call ourselves hamsters on wheels, because you have to create content when you're in the publishing business, and we do that. But then we found out my daughter's a lot faster hamster, so it's kind of a push-pull thing going on right now. So that's
Understood.
become a big deal, and
Yeah.
people can really monetize YouTube. This is going to be Bryson DeChambeau's problem if he has to go back to the PJ Tour. He's he's making a lot of money doing that, and
He sure is.
also he has a personality now. No one knew what his personality was before YouTube.
Yeah. All that going on, and now you've made the big time. You're on Financially Speaking. How about
Of course.
You could
'Cause
put it on your
have
resume.
you have a higher calling. We're here to help everybody.
Yeah. I'm 68 years old, and I get asked all the time when I'm going to retire. And retirement's just not on my radar screen. It just I'm kind of like you. I don't need to have that many contact hours, with the office per se. And I have maybe 16 hours a week that I'm actually physically at the office. The rest of the time I can do what I need to do at home, and I enjoy
Yeah.
what I do. I do. I don't want to
Yeah.
quit.
Well, we're the exact same age, and I don't plan to retire. I think the main thing is, we're kind of on a mission to tell everybody how to invest. We give our stock right away free in the public domain to empower people, and we tell them, hey, if you just buy A and B rated stocks, you'll beat the indices. I'm very anti-indexing. I was trained in indexing. I'm from Berkeley, California originally, and I just think a lot of people have been lied to. So I'm just trying to help everybody.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about indexing right now. We're kind of chasing rabbits here, but that's okay. The S&P 500 index is so top heavy now. It's almost non-diversified, even though you think, hey, that's the market. We're going to buy the market, 500 stuff. Yeah, but it's to the point that it's ridiculous. You need active management, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's an upside down wedding cake, and there's look at Nvidia. It's 14% of our GDP. It's a huge weight. Apple's a huge weight.
Yeah.
I don't recommend Apple now. My wife, for disclosure, owns it in her personal account. I have some clients that transferred it. I haven't sold it, but if they introduce a folding iPhone next month, oh my God, every kid in America is going to want one. And if
Well,
we
I'm
don't
waiting
get
for
one,
one. Yeah, I want one. I've got a phone I'd love to get rid of, but I'm waiting for September, baby.
well, all these teenagers are going to knock you over if you try to get one in the store. So try to do it online. But I did talk to an Apple engineer about that, and he says it's iPad software. And so it's supposed to be called the iPhone Ultra. Whether it's coming out or not, I'm still unclear. But again, every kid in America will want that phone. And Apple doesn't introduce anything until it's perfect. They signed a contract with Samsung Display a couple of years ago. So, and the folding phones have gotten better. So it'll be interesting if they come out with a folding phone. But yeah, every kid in America is going to want one. It can be $2,500 to $3,000. And if the kids don't get them, I guess they're going to need therapy. I don't know.
Oh, it'll add billions to their bottom line.
Yeah.
Louis, you're one of the few guests. This is one of the few programs I don't make any notes whatsoever because I know we've got so much to talk about. Markets in general. I think let's start there. I've heard you say that you think there might be a little dip in September, and not to buy the dip too early. Wait till it's over and then buy maybe toward the end of September. What is leaning you in that direction?
Well, I'll just walk you through week by week. So, let me start in July. So, first of all, the earnings announcement season is incredible. Over 50% earnings growth for the S&P, and NVIDIA hasn't announced yet. That's cap-weighted S&P. And obviously, we haven't gone up that much, so the P ratios are being compressed. Obviously, it's information tech, it's energy, some of it's materials, aerospace, and it's a little pharma, mostly Eli Lilly. But The main comment I have is when we started July, uh, we had mean reversion in the first 2 weeks of the month. And I use these charts from Bespoke. And Bespoke showed that the top 10%, top 100 stocks in Russell 1000 dropped 13.2% in the first 2 weeks. The bottom 10%, the worst performers, were up 4.6. And we showed their graph decile by decile. And what mean reversion is where Wall Street just rotates, and then the losers become the winners, and the winners, they get hit them with profit taking. Anyway, that apparently triggered this situation with situational awareness. This hedge fund that was up 439% in the first 6 months of the year, and this kid Leopold, he's 24 years old, and he apparently was leveraged up to yin yang, because when you have a hedge fund, market makers can lay off inventory, and you can be leveraged 10 to 1. Anyway, although Leopold was a good stock picker and using AI to pick his stocks, he got over leveraged, and word got out that to unwind his leverage. So there was all this forced selling in Bloom Energy and Micron and SanDisk, and he went down 67% in July, and Citadel bailed him out. And he's got married. He's not in the business now. But Jane Street, another big firm,
He's
like
getting the
Citadel.
business.
What's that?
He's not in the business. He's getting the business now.
Well, he'll get
From his
he'll
wife.
come back. There was no stock picking problem with what he had. Well, the problem was don't get leverage up the yin yang. So don't get leverage 10 to 1 or 4 to 1. Okay, that was the problem. So anyway, and Jane Street, another big firm like Citadel, lost $15 billion. But then so that was our capitulation. I always mispronounce that word. That was our blow off. And that happened in July, and then we started to recover. And I normally don't like August because there's a lot of seasonal issues. But we had this incredible rebound in August. But then the profit taking is starting up again, and it started on Wednesday when Moderna announced they have this phase 3 cancer trial that's looking really good and might be able to use it for skin cancer. So Moderna went up 177% on a short squeeze. And but the tech stocks were down over 14% that day. And so you're in a washing machine, and it's oscillating, and I guess they're trying to retest the July lows. But the bottom line is money's not leaving the market, it's just being reshuffled. We're now in the deep days of summertime, where most of the professionals on Wall Street they're somewhere. They're not at work, whether they're in Italy or in a mountain somewhere or on a boat. They're gone. Okay, and we have the B team in charge right now, and so the market is just hypersensitive to any news thing. And so I'm looking forward to next week, because next week we have the NVIDIA earnings on the 26th. We also will have Jackson Hole, and everybody's happy at Jackson Hole. Everybody loves going there, all the central bankers. The media loves going there. It's a forced vacation where they have to go there. And Steve Leisman will be out fly fishing. And they're all going to have a good time. And everybody will cheer up. And we tend to firm up going to Labor Day weekend. Then we all wake up and realize, we owe all these taxes on September 15th. And there'll be the selling pressure in the first half of September. And I said the best time to invest is in the last week of September. And that's what we call quarter and window dressing season, and that's what will happen. I did have a client call me the other day, like, why were you buying stocks the other day? He says, well, because we had this Moderna go up, suck money out of the tech stocks, and there was a good short-term window, so I was buying that day for them.
Sure.
But
always some exceptions along the way.
Oh, yeah. And so, but we're going to have NVIDIA. We're going to have Micron Technology. And so the earnings season is just going to end on fireworks and celebration. And my only other comment is a lot of the volatility you saw in these memory stocks, in addition to situational awareness, was definitely related to those leverage ETFs. And apparently they introduced those things in Korea, and they got to play with them a few times, and the tail was wagging the dog. But I do think I think the earnings environment's great. GDP now is 4% GDP growth. I said we'd hit 5-6% this year. I said 5. Howard Lutnick said 6. I actually had a conversation with Howard on that in Mar-a-Lago, and we know each other because our kids went to school together. But he assured me we would hit 6. And
Wow.
The only thing that's holding us back is
A non-inflationary 6%.
That's the Kevin Warsh speech. The speech is how AI is not inflationary. And obviously, we've had better than expected inflation numbers. We got a sloppy jobs report, payroll report. Apparently, we did lose 1 million people out of the workforce. So whether they retired or some left the country, who knows? But it doesn't matter. The machines are taking over, and we got to know what they're doing. And we're out of computing power, so that's why we got to build all these data centers.
Yeah. Louis, I bought NVIDIA about 3,500 shares back in beginning of 2021. So you can figure what's going to go on.
Yeah.
I've made more money on that stock by far than any position I've ever owned.
And don't sell it.
And the thing is, it's gone up so much, but yet it's cheap. I mean, it's actually an inexpensive stock right now. And when the earnings come out next week, they'll be gangbusters, and it should go through the roof, but it hasn't the last few times they've released earnings.
It tends to rally into earnings, and then what the Citadels, Jane Streets are doing, and they're writing cover calls on it on strong up days. So when you write an option on a strong up day, you collect a big premium, and then they don't want to pay the premium and deliver the stock. So after they write the cover calls, they might run mean reversion programs and knock it down. So we call that the tail wagging the dog, okay? And so NVIDIA is definitely a victim of that, but Jensen Huang's a great CEO, unbelievably genuine, real guy, and beloved by most of us. And I think, I found a lot of good stocks in my career, but this one's going to be unbelievable. And this is my second
NVIDIA,
time.
I'm sorry.
It's my second time. I already made 1,000%, got out. Now I'm up over 5,000. So
the NVIDIA tentacles keep spreading. It's incredible. Every day I see an article. Well, they're getting into this. They're buying this company. Or giving this company money, and da 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 da. And it's going to be another Berkshire Hathaway after a while because they'll be into everything.
Well, right now we're in the Vera Rubin chip. And then we have that's all big ramp up next year. Then we'll be in another chip, 2028, and then they're going to have a hard time making the chips faster because they're approaching the atomic level on the circuit board. So the theory is they want to pivot to quantum computing. They have a quantum cloud simulator, and they had a quantum day where D-Wave won. So we'll see what happens. But to me, the quantum computing will be won by Google or NVIDIA. Whether IonQ or D-Wave do well is another matter. But I only buy things when they earn money. So I wrote all these reports on quantum computing stocks, but I don't buy them until they earn money. So I think NVIDIA is a very safe bet. And we had this video of a couple guys at Stanford teaching the kids. One was a venture capitalist, a very famous guy, and the other was a gentleman that works for NVIDIA because NVIDIA just bought his company. And they were explaining how there's just not enough computing power now for AI. And as an example, Microsoft wasn't properly monetizing OpenAI for a while until last quarter. And they finally got some more computing power. And then they were able to monetize it. And that's why Microsoft's firming up. But, the Groks, the Anthropics, they need more power. Okay. So the whole industry is like Captain Kirk telling Scotty, I need more power. Okay. And so they're going to build it. And even if we elect Bernie Sanders president and he bans data centers, they're going to get built. They'll just go to Canada. Bloomberg reported how Malaysia's booming now because the data centers from Malaysia. 6% GDP growth from Malaysia. So it's going to be interesting. And, there's, New York put a moratorium for a year. New York's perfect for data centers with the hydroelectric, the fast internet, cold nights to vent the heat. Trust me, New York will be building data centers from Albany up to Buffalo. What else are you going to do with all that land up there? And right now all the data centers are going to Western Pennsylvania. It's going to be very exciting. The Permian Basin, it's going to be big. They're flaring natural gas there, so let's have the natural gas, spin a turbine or Bloom Energy fuel cell. And again, the Permian Basin is a desert, it's cold area. In Texas, they want to know how much water you're taking, where's it coming from. They'll get the water. They need water for fracking, so they'll get the water. And it's just very exciting. And this is all the regenerative machine learning that NVIDIA's pioneered. Eventually, we'll have dumb AI. And dumb AI will be kind of like a pet plotting against us. So, like, you can get a little Siri device that watches what you do at the house. And like most of the devices we buy now have Wi-Fi in them. So you can buy a fridge, and if you have a beer at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock every afternoon, it'll say, "Hi, you want a beer? It's happy hour." Or if your food goes bad, it says, "Hey, you might want to check drawer 4. Can order your food because it's hooked up to the internet." So that's dumb AI. That will invade our life. And so just like when you have a pet, are you training the pet or is it training you? It's kind of confusing what's really going on. But, they will have that kind of dumb AI. And I'm watching Optimus now. And Optimus is okay once he's programmed what to do. But it looks like they're going to try to have Optimus on the factory floors for a while. But he's far from laying bricks or serving cocktails or walking the dog and
Mowing the grass.
all that stuff. So yeah, again, everything can be pre-programmed. The robotaxis are pre-programmed. They have a hard time with circles, those traffic circles, and they have a hard time with those little plastic poles. Okay, but to their credit, they see animals and stuff and stop. And we have a home out in the Sierra, and we have to have LiDAR systems in our car out there that see the animals, and it stops and protects us. But yeah, so we're not the robo taxis and stuff will not take you down a road that's not in their database. Everything is pre-programmed. But we're getting this brave new world. I like how you go home, you buy a Tesla, you go home, and your Tesla goes out at night to give robo rides. It's kind of like a teenager. It bolts, it has its own thing. Just comes back when it needs some juice. So
Very good. Louis, how much money do you manage now?
$1.5 billion.
$1.5 billion.
And we doubled it. We're sitting on over $1 billion of unrealized gains. So basically, at one time we had 400 or 500 million, and now we're $1.5 billion. I had $7 billion at one time. I used to work on all the broker dealer channels, and I sold that business in 2013, and we went to more of a direct model. We're not anti-broker dealers. We want everybody to have financial advisors, but they were trying to push us to do ETFs and to track portfolios, which means you got to buy it in every sector, and that's not what I do. So we decided we didn't want people telling me how to run money anymore or how to mess with my portfolio. I certainly couldn't have NVIDIA as a 16% weight, which I do now. So I sold that business and went to we're essentially a family office, friends and family.
Yeah, I'd like to have a quarter of a point on $1.5 billion. That'd be nice, kind of nice.
There you go.
Yeah, for Eastern North Carolina, I've got a decent book of business, but this business has compensated both of us very well. I'm not, of course, in your league, but I have thought many times to have the compensation that I do and have had, I would have had to have been, I don't know, a president of a large bank, or even that wouldn't probably do it.
Yeah.
A CEO of a corporation, in North Carolina, it's just incredible.
Well, we're only as good as our clients. It's a service business, so our goal is to take care of people and compound their money and provide them solutions. I'm sure there's other things emerging that are very popular now, like private credit and my son's a private equity guy. He's in all the broker dealer platforms, but my oldest daughter is Morgan Stanley. She just had her third boy, and then Her husband is Merrill Lynch, but they do a lot of private credit, and so it's Wall Street has other options other than just stocks.
Yeah. What the regulatory agencies and the industry as a whole does not understand is that the folks on the street in places like Greenville, North Carolina, I mean, we're 100, 120,000 population. Eastern North Carolina is fairly rural. They want somebody to sit down with, and they don't mind paying a little bit more to have that. You know, they don't have to have the cheapest of this or that or the other if they're getting help and someone is helping them make the right choices and doing the right things and doing the correct planning and that sort of thing. And you know, they don't really understand that as a whole, the industry and the regulatory agencies.
Well, yeah, and I would say that SEC under Paul Aiken's better than the last one, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I think there's a new SEC in town, new sheriff in town, but you know, they're all different. You know, and the main thing is we're only as good as our clients, and we're there to help. And
yes,
the one thing I think is so hard to explain to clients is markets can lose their liquidity from time to time. You know, in August of 2015, we had a flash crash where stocks hit circuit breakers, but ETFs opened up, and the ETFs gapped down 35% that day. And then the stocks eventually came back online, and then most of the ETFs were unchanged. But had you sold in the morning, you would have lost 35%, even on a dividend ETF like DVY. Actually, 34.95 you would have lost. And then I'm down here in Palm Beach, and back in 2008, the news wasn't Bernie Madoff. The big news was leveraged munis, because everybody around me was making 13 to 16% a year tax free. And I was just curious, and they were leveraging munis. So I went to one of the presentations, and sure enough, the presentation was very, very well run. The guy that gave it was not very knowledgeable. He calmly explained, yeah, there's this thing called credit default swap. And thanks to that, we can buy 6A rated munis for you. These are quality munis. And then that's how you're earning 13+% tax free. And it was a very impressive presentation. He was the head of alternative investments at Citibank. But everybody was doing this. Goldman was doing it, and Merrill. And then what happens when AIG failed and the credit default swaps broke, they were forced to unwind this leverage very abruptly. And the munis that were in that fund are still good to this day. They're A-rated munis. But they were forced to sell them too quickly, too fast. So unfortunately, that product lost 97% of its money, and that gentleman lost $21.1 billion for Citibank Alternative Investments and did lose his job.
Ouch.
And then he became our Treasury Secretary, Jack Lew.
How about that?
So, you know, you got to be careful if someone tries to sell you a fantasy. You know, I'm not too far from Boca Raton here. I know a bunch of people that, you know, I can't handle more than 1.5% drawdown. And I just tell people, look, that's not what I do. I try to diversify. We have optimization models that, you know, we find something that zigs and something zags, and we blend them together. We got gold stocks, we got energy stocks, we got all the oil tanker. I mean, we got all these things that move differently than a lot of the tech stocks we recommend. But in the end, it's all about going to earnings season, let the earnings drop, kick, and drive the stocks. And you have to wait to sell. And when somebody wants to get out, he says, I'll sell you in the strength. I'm not going to sell you on a down day. You know, I'll sell your up stocks, and I'll just keep selling you every day in the strength until I get you out. I said, no, I went out now. No. That's not what we do. Okay. And so, but, you know, if you have confidence in what you do, things will be fine. And it's just unfortunate we have all these naysayers out there. You know, that Citron hedge fund attacked Supermicro, attacked Sezzle, it went parabolic. So that guy attacked it. And then Citron shut down. That guy just got 20 years in jail for posting bad articles. But, you know, the media glorifies bears. Andrew Ross Sorkin had Jeffrey Gunlap on. He's a bond manager, and Andrew Elise said that, not Andrew, Joe Kernan said that you haven't been right since 2010. I appreciate them doing that. And then Andrew wrote the book in 1929, and 60 Minutes had that episode twice. And then now the media is glorifying Michael Burry, and I have nothing against Michael Burry. I don't know him, but it's just there's always, they're just starting to stir up the pot. And what we try to do is, especially on our YouTube channels, we really try to make sense of what's happening. We show them the anomalies. We show them that market reacts, it doesn't think. Crowds are stupid. You can follow the crowd, you can follow the fundamentals.
Louis, what we're compensated to do more than anything is to save investors from themselves, because the greatest detriment to investor returns is their behavior. It's not stock selection or analysis or fundamentals or technicals or that's what it is. We've got music. That means we're out of time, Louis. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. It's always an honor.
Enjoy Florida.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye. As always, this is Jim Taunton helping you make all of your financial decisions good ones. Good night, everybody.